Boys, we gather here today to begin pressing F to our dear friend Izanagi's burden. Looking past the month that it was bugged and unobtainable when Shadowkeep first came out, that may or may not have affected me. Looking past all those LFG teams that ignored you when you said you didn't have it, may or may not have also been me. Looking past spawning into every single activity and hearing. It was a true companion, the rightful owner of mine and many others' exotic choice. Okay, I'm joking, it's not getting nerfed that much, but with the nerf to Izanagi's, well, the title for best exotic weapon for PvE is now up for grabs. In this video, I, Papa myfi, am going to go over how Izanagi's is actually getting nerfed because a lot of people actually have it wrong, and then go over what I believe will become the new king of the people's exotic choice. But before we do get started, if you're new and only if you enjoy the videos or find them helpful, then be sure to subscribe. Also, the amount of videos I've been putting out is slowing down due to, well, it being that time again in Destiny 2, where things are slow and we're all pretty much just sitting here playing with our hands, waiting for the new season. But I do live stream every day over on twitch.tv/myfi with an underscore at the end. So if you want to come over and say what's up or just tell me how bad I am, then by all means. Once the new season drops, then upload frequency will return to normal. Okay, let's get into it. So if we first take a look at how Izanagi's will be nerfed in the upcoming Season 10, we can see that in the most recent update from Bungie, they state the animation speed of Honed Edge is no longer affected by the reload stat. What this means for anyone that might not know is that no matter how many loader mods you have on, or no matter if you're standing in a well of radiance, that the user has a pair of boots that are exotic that we're not going to mention that specifically speed up reloading, the reload speed to activate Honed Edge is going to remain the same. It's going to be impossible to speed it up. Then Bungie also states Outlaw has been replaced with no distractions. This is pretty self-explanatory as well. They're just taking Outlaw off the gun and replacing it with the perk no distractions. Now, I know no distractions is just as useless as Outlaw, but I'm not going to get into it. So let's recap real quick. To activate Honed Edge, the reload speed is going to be static and can't be sped up no matter what you do, and Outlaw is going bye-bye and no distractions is taking its place. That doesn't seem that bad, right? Well, let's get into what Bungie hit us with next. Bungie then starts ranting about how they feel like snipers are too good, blah 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 blah, and then they say, damage to major enemies and above have been reduced to pre-Shadowkeep values, or just minus 20% damage of what they are now. Adaptive Sniper Precision Multiplier has been reduced from 3.25x to 2.95x, and finally, Rapid Fire Sniper's base impact has been reduced from 100 damage to 90 damage. Now, the change to Adaptive Frame and Rapid Fire Snipers doesn't matter that much when it comes to Izanagi's, but the 20% reduced damage across the board to all snipers is where people started to go crazy. Now, what I'm about to tell you may come as a shock to many of you, as it did for me, as I too was under the assumption that Izanagi's would be receiving the 20% damage nerf, but it's not. No exotic snipers are receiving the 20% damage nerf. They're just not. So now with that news, a lot of people are out here saying Izzy's is not even really getting nerfed, so the meta isn't changing, but I would have to disagree and say that you're wrong. What made Izanagi's burden so powerful was its DPS potential, and well, with Honed Edge receiving a static reload speed, well, that directly impacts the DPS. I'm now going to start throwing out damage numbers and be transitioning into what I believe will become the new exotic weapon king for Season 10, so buckle in. The DPS right now for Izanagi's burden with max reload speed, and I am going to be rounding to the nearest 5,000th, as well, it just makes it easier for me to tell and easier for you to remember if you want to tell someone else, is 55,000. Now, without any reload perks, the DPS is 35,000. And the no reload perk DPS is exactly what it will be next season, as well. Reload perks won't affect it because Honed Edge is getting that static reload speed, so yeah, it's going to be 35,000 next season as well. The overall damage output is going to be staying the same, as it's not receiving the 20% damage nerf, and that will be 515,000 with max reserve perks and 430,000 with no reserve perks. Now for the new best exotic weapon in the game that will be taking Izanagi's place. Meet or re-meet, depending on how long you've been playing the game, Whisper of the Worm. Now hold on, let me explain. The reason that Whisper of the Worm lost previously when it came head-to-head with Izanagi's Burden was due to its DPS. And DPS in Destiny 2 is sort of king, so yeah. The DPS for Whisper is around 50,000, and when we put it up against Izanagi's prior to the release of Season 10 is, like I mentioned earlier, 55,000 with max reload perks. But since Izanagi's Honed Edge reload is getting nerfed and the DPS is plummeting down to 35,000, well, the numbers start speaking for themselves. Izanagi's, in terms of DPS, was 5,000 damage over Whisper. But now, after Season 10, it's going to be 15,000 below Whisper. So yeah. And I would also like to throw out the fact that Whisper has always been able to outdamage Izanagi's when it comes to overall damage output, as Whisper is able to dish out a whopping 800,000 damage with max reserve perks and 625,000 with no reserve perks. Also, another thing is the fact that when a lot of people put Izanagi's up against Whisper, back when Shadowkeep first launched, when a lot of people were comparing, Whisper versus Izanagi's, they weren't factoring in Divinity. Either A, they just didn't know the proper use of Divinity, or B, it just wasn't out yet, as Divinity didn't get discovered for a few weeks after Shadowkeep's launch. Divinity has become such a staple now that I guarantee at least someone on your raid team / fire team is using it. Yes, Divinity gives that 30% damage buff, but the big thing is the fact that it makes a massive white sphere around the enemy you're shooting at, which counts as a crit for other players that are shooting that massive white sphere. And, well, in order to use Whisper at its fullest potential, you must be hitting crits so you never have to reload thanks to White Nail, which is the perk on Whisper that makes it to where every time you get 3 crits in a row, it just automatically refills your magazine, for anyone that doesn't know. Yeah, Divinity is going to come in big next season, especially when Whisper starts being used more and more. Now, I will say one thing right now, and that's the fact that Whisper will still lose in one department to Izanagi's even after the nerf. And that department is putting major / champion targets down very quickly. You know, the whole Divinity a champion and then erase him with one Izzy shot to the dome. Yeah, well, Whisper just can't do that. I believe when it comes to activities with big bosses at the end that take a ton of damage, pretty much just a damage sponge to put down, Whisper is your choice. But in activities where taking out high-level majors / champions is a must, well, Izzy's is going to be your choice. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Do you think Whisper will make a return as players' exotic weapon of choice? Or do you think something else will, and if so, why? I'm honestly curious as to what you all think. Do you think that Izanagi's is going to remain on top? Remember, Izanagi's takes special ammo, and special ammo is much more widely available than Whisper ammo, and that's because Whisper ammo is heavy ammo. So I'm curious as to what you all think. Please, actually let me know. With all that being said, the rest of the video is going to be me dusting off the old Whisper and taking it for a spin and some strikes. So if you're a new player and want to see some raw gameplay of how this thing performs, then you can. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to drop a like, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Jokey got the sauce, bitch.